Hey guys, Razorblade Mango here, and alright, well, I have a confession to make. So, you know how I usually do, like the popcorn mango stuff, like right from the movie theater, or at least I like to? Well, I had that opportunity to, but I just couldn't do it. I needed the drive home to process the movie I'm gonna quickly talk about, and that would be Nicolas Winding Refn's The Neon Demon. So, for people who don't know who Nicolas Winding Refn is, this is the guy who did Drive. Some people know him as the guy that did Bronson, which launched Tom Hardy's career. He did Only God Forgives a couple years back with Ryan Gosling. And he's done a bunch of other stuff like the Pusher trilogy and Bleeder and Fear X and Valhalla Rising. He has, he's been around for a long while. And Neon Demon is his latest movie. And I was really looking forward to it because I think Drive and Only God Forgives are two of the very best films of this decade. I love both of those films to death. I think they are... He has a vision. Even when one of his films doesn't work for me, I always know that I am watching a very unique style, a very, very unique vision of somebody. And Nicolas Winding Refn, he's one of those people that loves combining, like the really gritty, slimy, grindhousey kind of horror show stuff with a very sleek, glossy style. It's very shiny. They're very shiny films, and that's part of his thematic exploration of a lot of his stuff, where he makes films that are very, like glossy and colorful, but underneath they're hiding just this horrible, rotten things that are happening with like lots of gore and killing and mayhem. And I love his style when done, when done at his most compelling, like something like Drive or Only God Forgives or Bleeder. I think his style is phenomenal. One of the best around. Unfortunately, with the Neon Demon, this is not one of those times. At least, I don't think the balance is quite there. So I guess I'll talk about the stuff like the imagery and stuff like that, which is undeniably beautiful. I love the neon look of it. It's the namesake. I love the way he uses, flashing lights and strobe effects, and it hurts my eyes, but it's so cool. I love the way he portrays LA, which he, along with like this film and Drive, they portray LA as kind of this, weird, otherworldly, neon-soaked city, when in reality it doesn't really look the way they're portraying it in these movies. But I really like the kind of supernatural-esque element to the way he films and stages stuff in LA. It's very interesting. The score by Cliff Martinez is wonderful. The best of the year so far. In a time when I am not all that impressed by film scores anymore. A lot of them just don't do anything for me. But Cliff Martinez is always a reliable source for really awesome scores. Of course, he did the score for Steven Soderbergh's Contagion, which is great. He did the score for Only God Forgives, which is one of my favorite. And now he's doing this, and it's a fantastic score. Like, I love the cell phone weird effect that he does. The beep boop 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 beep. Like, it sounds like something out of Tron, and yet it's used in the Neon Demon, and it sounds really cool, and it fits the imagery very well. Performances solid across the board. You got Ellie Fanning, who's very good. Jenna Malone, who I always really like. Keanu Reeves, who gives maybe the best performance. He's actually creepy in this movie. He actually is like... I mean, it's unfortunate what they do with his character. He's kind of just dropped off. But I wanted to see more of him. And I usually don't like him as an actor. But he did a damn good job in this movie. And I liked him a lot. And I wanted to see more of him. But unfortunately, that's just not where it goes. Alright, so... The problem with the Neon Demon, and I had to take a whole car ride home to let this sink in. So I saw it with a friend of mine, one of my closest friends, and he, from what I could tell, he really, really disliked it. Because he and I went to go see 999, which I fucking hated, and it's the movie I hate the most from this year. And I'm not saying Neon Demon is anywhere near as bad as 999 is, but he was like, yeah, this is worse than 999. I would rather sit through 999 than this again. And I was like, no way, this was so much better, because even with, you know, I was weirdly fascinated. I was just bored with 999. 999 was fucking boring and made no goddamn sense. But Neon Demon, there is that powerful vision. There is that stunning atmosphere and aesthetic to it. The problem I have with the Neon Demon is that I don't think they're underneath all the shock imagery that he does, because he has a reputation for being a very, you know, prodding, shocking director with a lot of really gory shit and fucked up shit. But he always has like an interesting narrative through his movies. Like in Drive, even if you were to remove the atmosphere and the gore, you would have a very solid genre movie with a very good, tight script, with great dialogue and interesting character development. And then you get Only God Forgives, which even without, you know, the gore and the atmosphere, you have an interesting revenge story, and it's very narrative base. It's a revenge thriller, and it's an interesting one, and it's a plot I personally find more interesting than some model who comes to LA and is you know, taken advantage of and hunted by people who want her beauty, which could be a fascinating subject. And of course, with all of his films, it's a very personal film for him, because he made it for his wife. But I don't think I don't think this has the staying power of something like Only God Forgives or Drive. Because when I remove myself from the initial shock value of, you know, seeing the really fucked up shit that happens in the Neon Demon, I just don't find it as interesting as his other films. And I don't think that it doesn't have that staying power. And the imagery involved is so blunt and to the point, and like eye-rollingly, like, dude, oh my god. Like, there's a point where it's a very like surreal, like one of the best parts of the movie, despite the kind of like eye-rolling metaphor that they have, is where Ellie Fanning is standing in front of like a three-way mirror, and the images of herself like make out with her own reflection. And I'm like, dude, come on, man, this isn't narratively deep. This is like, oh, look at me, I'm saying something. It's a metaphor. It's something. But and then you also have a scene where it's like there's a cougar that literally comes into her apartment. And it's like, dude, like, really? I understand that this is... And it drags on and on and on. And I'm like, okay, I get it. The cougar is a personification of the threats that she faces coming to LA. I get it. And there's another image at the end that I won't spoil because it's a huge spoiler. But as entertaining as it was with the shock value, I was like, oh my god, like really? Like, I understand what he's going for here. I understand what he's trying to say. It's a scathing satire of the fashion world. But my god, it's like, dude, you can tone it down a little bit. Like, and I admire it that there is zero artistic compromise here. This is purely a Nicolas Winding Refn film, and if you come into this, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. But I just don't think, as beautiful as the film looks, I don't think the images are as interesting or as memorable as something like Only God Forgives. Which Only God Forgives, I like when I think of Only God Forgives, I think of the red and the blue and the gorgeous shot of Ryan Gosling standing in front of that statue with his fists raised in order to have it. That is a metaphor. That is subtext. That's a subtext of Ryan Gosling, wanting to be this figure of masculinity. And it's fascinating. It's beautifully shot, and it's thematically resonant, and it doesn't feel like it's knocking you over the head with it. With the Neon Demon, it like knocks you over the head repeatedly with these metaphors, and it's never boring. That's what I give. I give it, even with its big problems, it's not boring. It's just not as interesting as the other stuff that he's done. I just felt once like the initial shock of what had happened passed, I just felt underwhelmed and a little and it's 2 hours long, and I'm thinking, dude, there is stuff in here. You could have probably cut out Keanu Reeves' character like entirely. Maybe like have one little cameo from him where he's dealing with the Jaguar, which is his opening scene. But like everything else, I'm like, okay, this is going nowhere, and it ends nowhere. Like his scenes just stop. He just stops appearing. And I've gone over the time that I'm usually allowing myself to do this, but I like Nicolas Winding Refn a lot. I think he's one of the best, most interesting directors working today. And it's a little disappointing that this is not, I don't consider this one of his masterpieces like Drive or Only God Forgives, which I was more than ready to do. But I just could not get into this one as much as his other stuff. And even films of his that I don't like as much as Only God Forgives, like Bronson, which is very good, Bleeder, which is very good, the Pusher trilogy, which are all very interesting. I think this kind of falls in the middle between something like Bleeder and Valhalla Rising, which is something I just flat out don't like. So it's a lesser film in his career, but it's interesting, but it doesn't have that staying power. So I kind of liked it. Kind of. It's all right, but it's no Drive. It's no Only God Forgives. So, but I do want to see it again. Unlike a lot of films I've seen this year, I do want to see this again, to see if there is something that does catch my attention the second time around. I mean, who knows? Some of my favorite films ever I started not liking or being underwhelmed by them. So, who knows? That hopefully could be a fate that comes to the Neon Demon. But for now, I just think it's okay. If you're a big Nicolas Winding Refn fan, I'd recommend it. It has interesting stuff in it. For anyone else who don't like the way his films sound from how I've been describing them, this isn't for you. This is probably this is tied with Only God Forgives as stylistically his most Nicolas Winding Refn film to date. So it has his stamp on it, and it's interesting. It's a ride, but it's not a ride I'm sure I'll want to go back on after that initial rewatch. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about Neon Demon. But yeah, it's okay. Alright, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the Neon Demon if any of you guys have seen it. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Take care.